Welcome back, welcome back. Louis de Bernières leapt to fame with the publication of his phenomenally successful and popular novel, Captain Corelli's Mandolin, a bestseller in probably every country this programme goes to. It was made into a film starring Penelope Cruz and Nicolas Cage, and he has a new book out this month, A Partisan's Daughter, which tells the tale of the daughter of one of Tito's partisans and her platonic love affair with an older man. Today I'm joined by the writer himself to talk about love, history and whatever comes up after that, and Captain Corelli as well, of course. Welcome, Louis. Very good to have you with us. After the success of Captain Corelli, you were thinking, what persuaded you to do this particular book next?
It's because this book's been on the back burner for about 28 years. I wrote the first version of it when I was 24 or 25.
Really?
I had lived in such a place with such a woman who just couldn't resist telling you the stories of her life. And when I wrote them down immediately after leaving that house, I thought that was my first novel, but actually there was no plot. It was just one thing after another. So over the years I've produced 7 drafts, and 3 of them in rapid succession the year before last, until I finally thought I had a decent novel with a decent plot. So it's something that's been at the back of my mind for a very long time, and it just seemed the right occasion to do it.
Do you consciously tell stories of love stories and so on about countries that in a sense are not Goliaths of violence, but that are in fact countries that are unpopular? I mean, Captain Corelli treats the Italians very sympathetically, and now you here have a country that currently is under great pressure, Serbia, and it's a Serb who's the heroine of your new book. Do you consciously look for the underdog, the emotional underdog?
I think I did in the case of Captain Corelli's Mandolin, but in the case of this book, the reason I made her a Serb is that because the woman I originally knew was a Serb, so it was a simple economy of effort. But I've since been to Serbia. I had to go there to do a bit of research, and I liked the people enormously. They're suffering from the most intense melancholy because the country is shrinking steadily. They've lost Montenegro, for example. All their friends have deserted them, I think, maybe apart from the Russians. And of course, they were grotesquely misled by Milosevic during his time in power, and I think they're probably going to suffer the consequences for decades. So they just feel terribly depressed over there now. And
so that confirmed your decision, A, that the source of the story was Serbian, but that added to your conviction that you should write it about a Serbian.
There's also an artistic reason, of course, that the story of what happened in Yugoslavia during the war is a very, very interesting one. So to make a lot of Rosa's stories about that period just seemed like a good idea from the point of view of narrative.
And in terms of your actual writing, someone wrote this, said that in his new novel and in Captain Corelli's Mandolin, the underlying theme is about love that is made to wait. Do you think that's a fair summary of? That's
a very, very good comment, but it's not one I'd actually thought of myself. It's funny what you learn from interviewers.
And vice versa.
Yes, that's absolutely true. They're both about love that has to wait. But in the case of this book, the relationship really doesn't work out, whereas Corelli, I think, has a much happier ending.
Right. And now, I mean, you've written this novel. You did 7 drafts. Yeah. What are you going to do next? Do you know what you're going to do next?
I have 4 projects lined up.
4?
Well, yes, I've got one more epic in me, which would be like...
In your life, you said?
Yes.
One more epic?
One more epic, at least.
So you're pregnant with one more epic?
I am pregnant with one more epic. I've written the first chapter just to make sure I can do it.
Right.
And it's based loosely on the life of one of my grandfathers who was in Afghanistan on the northwest frontier and so on, where the situation was pretty much the same in his day as it is now. Yeah. and I've got 2 collections of short stories which are ready to go, and I've got one or maybe 2 shorter novels about the same length as this one, which would both be set in Britain or possibly in France.
Both in France?
No, one of them might be in France.
Yeah. And the other one might be?
That would be in Britain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be in Britain.
But
So
I've always felt entitled to set a book wherever I want. It just means you had to put in the work to make sure you do it right.
yes, exactly. And I mean, and you need to go and to do research and all of that. But I mean, do you have a reader in mind as you're writing?
I don't now, but I used to. When I first started out, my little sister read everything that I did. And as time went by, I accumulated more literary friends, and they're the ones who will read things through now. Such as my agent, for example. She's not just an agent. She knows what she likes, and she says what she likes.
And that helps you, because you know you're getting an
Yes.
independent opinion.
Yeah, you do end up with some fairly bitter arguments, but often about trivial things such as the title. No, I've often. You do feel pangs of resentment when you get these criticisms back from your readers, but then if you've got any sense at all, you go away and think about it, and quite often you realise the other person's right.
Well, we have to wait for your next book, but in the meantime, we'll enjoy A Partisan's Daughter.
Thank you, David.
Very enjoyable.
Thanks.
Louis de Bernières there, talking to me earlier. In a minute, the price of food. Why is it rising so fast? Find out all of this in a moment, after this short break.